All right, so we just came out of Royal Palms and we headed south on 17 and we're heading into Brickyard Plantation. And Brickyard Plantation is one of the more popular neighborhoods in all of Mount Pleasant. It really has a lot to do with its location. You're close to downtown Charleston from here. I can be on the beach in 10 minutes from here. And they've got an outstanding amenity center. We live back here. I'll ride y'all by the area. We live back in a little bit, but you know, it's just great for taking the kids out to the pool. They've got a ginormous pool compared to some of the other amenity centers in Mount Pleasant. And even on a busy day, you can free flow in and out of here. There's plenty of room to swim. You've got tennis courts that are lighted over here to our right. They've got a very good tennis team that I've played on a couple of times, but I don't practice enough to be any good. You've got basketball courts here in the back. You've got soccer and lacrosse field back here. And the boat storage you may be able to see across the field and past the soccer net is where you store your boats. And I think it's $125 a year and you can store your boats. Again, Brickyard has a deep water boat launch, so you would, you know, more or less keep your boat there, and when you wanted to launch into the creek, you could do it from there. You've got playground equipment, and again, an amenity center. The pool's generally open here in March, and then they stay open. I think we swam as late as October this year. So really, you know, a great setup for people that have kids, or even, you know, people, I've sold a couple of houses back here to people that are retired, and they kind of like the setup here. It's got lap lanes, so if you're a swimmer, again, you couldn't swim during the winter because it would be cold, but you could swim, you know, most months out of the year. You could do a lot of exercise swimming in the pool here at Brickyard. Homeowners Association fee in Brickyard is about $800, I think it was $825 this year, but it honestly is very well worth it. Brickyard houses range in, you know, the front of the neighborhood, the less expensive houses. The further you go back, the more expensive, and some of the ones on the creek are $2.5 to $3 million. The first subsection we're going to ride through, these are in the $300,000 range. A lot of these were built by John Whelan, so, you know, we've already ridden through a bunch of his neighborhoods this morning. We're going to ride through a little bit more now. And we're going into the preserve. Mainly 3 and 4 bedroom houses. Again, these houses will range anywhere from the probably $320,000 range on up to $450,000. Some of them have wood siding. Some of them, if they're newer, have hardy plank. And there's a couple of back here that are vinyl siding. It's not too many of them. These houses, some of them have some of the low country style double front porch look, but a lot of these are fairly generic looking houses. Again, we're shooting this video in early part of February, so it's not, you know, the prettiest time. The grass is dormant right now, so during most of the year you have greener grass than what you see back here, and obviously a lot more foliage. We have friends that live back here and they have really enjoyed the neighborhood. There's a bunch of cul-de-sacs back here, so they said it's great for the kids to play, and my friends that live back in this subsection have met a ton of people. They say there's just a lot of young families back here. And yours, you know, right across the street from here is Jenny Moore Elementary School, which they're finishing rebuilding and will open in the 2015 school year. Will be Jenny Moore, and right next to that's Lang Middle School. So if you have kids, Brickyard is a place that I would highly recommend. You know, it kind of helps, Brickyard does, in that you're not going all the way up 17. You know, you're not going up into Carolina Park. You're not having to drive all the way up 41 to get into Rivertown or into Dunes West. This is kind of like splitting the difference between being at the foot of the bridge in Mount Pleasant, where we kind of started all this, and all the way up in North Mount Pleasant. This is kind of more or less the middle part of Mount Pleasant now. And again, this is the preserve. All right, so directly across from the preserve is Magnolia Grove, and Magnolia Grove is, honestly, it's very similar to what we just drove through. These are on a little bit bigger lots in some cases, and some of these houses are going to have a little bit more tree coverage. Some of these have really nice backyards. I've sold some houses back here over the last couple of years that had phenomenal backyards. So these lots probably range, I would say, 1/4 of an acre all the way up to a little over 1/3 of an acre. House prices right now, the shooting in this video, 320s to probably 450. You're going to find a lot of single floor or at least master down homes back here. There's more of these, I think, in Magnolia Grove than what you would find in some other places in Brickyard. So, you know, if you don't want to traverse a bunch of steps, this would be a good section to consider. And again, it's at the front of the subdivision, so you're not driving all the way in the back of Brickyard to get to your house. And it makes it, you know, easy to get out to 17. Again, super close to downtown Charleston. About, you know, I think I drive to the gym from this area, and it's about 22 minutes each day, and that's at rush hour. You can do it in, I think, under 15 if you catch it. You know, we're leaving a restaurant at night and driving back this way from downtown Charleston. We can be here in about 15 minutes. Just about any time of the day, you can reach Isle of Palms in 10 minutes. And again, this is Magnolia Grove subsection of Brickyard Plantation. Traveling further back into Brickyard into the Retreat. The Retreat is homes in the 400,000 probably to maybe into sixes. These are a little bit bigger square footage than the ones that we just rolled through. These are 4 and 5 bedroom houses. These range in square footage probably from 2,700 to probably 3,500 square feet. Pretty decent sized houses. These were all built mainly in the 90s, some of them maybe in the early 2000s. Anywhere in Brickyard sells pretty quick. I think last time I looked, there were about a dozen houses in all of Brickyard. So not just the area we're riding through, but the whole area of Brickyard for sale. And as we ride around today, I'm seeing seems like more for sale signs than I normally do. But honestly, if I was going to sell a house, I would think now would be a good time in which to sell a house, because the market has certainly, it's not back roaring where it was in 2007. And I don't think, we're going to get back to that pace anytime soon, but we're in a pretty good situation as far as the housing market goes in Mount Pleasant. But this is the Retreat, and again, a little more space between the houses, a little bit bigger houses than the first subsections we rolled through. And we're going to head on up and go through a couple more. All right, guys, so we are in the old Brickyard section of Brickyard, which these were, for the most part, were custom-built houses. Some of them were built by Wheeland, but majority of these back here are custom-built. And the thing that people like about this section of Brickyard is these are on much bigger lots. These are anywhere from 1/2 acre to 3/4 acre lot. We live back here. I don't own a boat, but this is the subsection inside of Brickyard Plantation that is closest to the boat launch. And a lot of these houses, as we'll ride back here just in another second or two, overlook deep water and have deep water docks. You can probably see the house coming up on our left that is being constructed, and they have, off the back of the house is spectacular. I mean, it's true deep water here. You've got 6 feet of water at low tide. And houses back here, range in square footage from 3,500 on up to probably almost 5,000 square feet. See, it's a saltwater lake here, so this is tied in with a tidal creek. Really some good fishing out there on the point. We go out there and catch redfish and flounder, and right time of the year, spot tail. And you can also catch them in the saltwater lake. But these houses along here are all deep water houses, and they're $2 million or so, give or take. This kind of flows back into the very back part of Brickyard, which is where the boat launch is, and you have access to a Deepwater Creek, which flows directly out to the Wando River, and then that flows on out to Charleston Harbor. And we're just going to spin back here and show you all this. Again, a very big boat launch area, places for you to leave your boat trailers. And this is, very busy area on the weekends or during boating season. I mean, there's still people that go out this time of year, and you can fish, obviously you're not gonna be swimming in the creeks or doing any kind of water skiing or anything like that this time of year. And we catch a lot of blue crabs off this dock, so great place to catch crabs. Again, this time of year, the crabs more or less have gone out to the ocean, so there's not a whole lot of blue crabs back in the creeks in the winter, is what I've been told. All right, so as we head out of here, again, old Brickyard is where we are right now. These homes range in price from probably the least expensive, probably in the sixes on up to, again, like I pointed out earlier, a couple $1 million. Most of the houses probably fall in about the $700,000 price point at the moment. All right, so we're in the back of the old Brickyard, and a lot of people don't know about this subsection. It's called McLean's Orchard, and these are probably bigger houses than what you even have in old Brickyard. Some houses back here probably range up to 5,000 square feet, but these are bigger lots. These are all, I would say, 1/2 acre lots on a minimum. And most of these houses were built, late 90s, some of them into early 2000s. A lot of them have been redone on the inside, even though they were built in the 90s. You have more modern kitchens. My sons have a couple of little play friends back here, and they come back here and hang out all the time, and they really like it. Friends of ours that live back here like this area. Again, McLean's Orchard is in the back part of old Brickyard, which is inside of Brickyard Plantation. And it's rare that houses come on the market back here. There's just not too many of them, honestly, in McLean's Orchard. So, if you're shopping back here, it may be a little while before you find something that comes on the market. All right, y'all, so we're in the very, very back of Brickyard Plantation now. We're coming into a traffic circle, and there's 3 little subsections that we'll ride through, and we're gonna start by going to the one on the far left, which is Daniels Point. Daniels Point, all custom-built houses, and this is probably the most expensive part of Brickyard from top to bottom. The least expensive house back here is probably in the 7s, and medium price points probably in the 8s, maybe even low 9s. These are bigger houses, again, custom finishes. About 52 houses that were built back here. You have direct access to the boat landing area. It's bordered by Boone Hall Plantation, Highway 41, and Highway 17. And these back up to saltwater lakes. You know, a lot of these houses, again, were built in, over to the left, those are the low country style houses that people like a lot. You have the full footprint to park under. And then you have a lot of brick houses. I mean, we live back here, and I'm not a big fan of brick houses. I'm not a fan of the main architecture style of these houses, but this neighborhood is just in a great location, Brickyard Plantation. And again, we're in Daniels Point. From here, you have access to the amenity center for Brickyard, the swimming pool, the tennis courts, all the other amenities that we kind of talked about. You've got walking trails. And we're going to ride out of Daniels Point, and we're going to hop right over to the Hamptons. All right, so coming out of Daniels Point, and we're gonna go over to the Hamptons, not in New York, but the Hamptons in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, in Brickyard Plantation. And these houses range in the high 4s, size of the homes. And again, these subsections, there's not a great deal of variation in the style of house. I mean, these look very similar, probably to ones that we showed at the front of this video as we came into the beginning of the neighborhood. They're just a little bit bigger, and there is a little bit more space between the lots. Some of these do back up to woodlands buffers, some of them back up to canals and kind of, creek areas. These, again, were all built mainly in, I would say, the mid-1990s. The last house that was built back here was in the 2000s. Surprising number of these have mastered down, which again, if you want a 2-story house, but you want to have your master on the main level, this section called the Hamptons is a good spot. More or less, you have access to everything else that's back here, the boat launch, the amenity center. And again, we've recapped a couple of times in this video, but you're about 25 minutes to downtown Charleston in like 8 o'clock in the morning traffic. So driving at night, you can be down there in about 15 minutes and about 10 minutes or so to get to the beaches on Isle of Palms. But again, the Hamptons in Brickyard Plantation, and we're in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And we've got one more to roll through, and then we're gonna head out of Brickyard Plantation. Tucked all the way in the very back is the Landings. And Landings is more or less a street you ride into, and it's a circle. And these houses all were built by John Whelan. I wouldn't say all of them. I think a buddy of mine lived back here, and I think they actually bought the lot and built themselves, which oftentimes I get asked, people want to know if there's any lots back here for sale. They're really, in Brickyard, I would say there's no lots for sale right at this moment. If they are, they're maybe the deep water lot variety, maybe 1 or 2 of those I think were on the market last month. But this is all built out, and this is just a circle. So you're at the very back of Brickyard. The only thing I will point out about this part of Brickyard, and again, we're in the Landing subsection of Brickyard, is that if you get over to the wrong side, and I recommend, if you're looking at these online and you see a house that looks good to you and you want to come take a look at it, Google Earth it, because Highway 41 is literally right there. So you're going to get, and Highway 41 is a 2-lane road. It's pretty frequently trafficked, and I can, see through the tree, the cars going up and down that road over there. So it's something to keep in mind. You may get some road noise that you probably wouldn't normally get in any other section of Brickyard, but this again is the Landing. Your zone for Jenny Moore Elementary School, I believe Lang or Cario, depending on where you are in Brickyard, and then Wando High School obviously is the high school that feeds all of Brickyard in these neighborhoods. So you've got walking trails that kind of tie into the other section of Brickyard that goes up 41, which is the Colonnade, and we will not get into the Colonnade today because it's really not part of the main part of Brickyard, which is where we are right now. Again, as I pointed out, you've got a lot of trees with no leaves on them because it is early February and just not a great time for foliage. That more or less wraps us up. We're in the process of shooting all of Mount Pleasant. All the people in my organization live in Mount Pleasant, so they're going to be able to give you some good insight. I've been here for 25 years, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have about Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. All All right, so this is a little shopping center that I talked about that's kind of tied into Brickyard, and this is actually my cut-through road a lot of times to get out of Brickyard early in the mornings to get my daughter to school on time because she's usually late getting outside. But anyway, that's another story. You've got little shops and restaurants. You've got a karate center that my sons have gone to a couple of years and they really liked a lot. You've got a next to you little consignment shop. You've got a bank. And then all through to the right where these trees are tagged in orange, they're getting ready to develop this. I've heard that they're going to do some townhomes up here. They're also going to be doing some more commercial. So there's going to be more commercial tied into Brickyard Plantation moving forward. And then right up here, Carrabba's, and you've got more banks. And right past Brickyard Plantation is Boone Hall Plantation. Again, it's the only functioning plantation in the United States, I'm told. You know, it still produces tea, rice, and seasonal vegetables. And then they sell them in the Boone Hall Farm store, which is coming up on our left. So you have the option at Boone Hall Plantation to pick your own produce, or you can come up here and you can buy it. Somebody's picked it for you. But we're heading down 17 South, and we're going to go into Snee Farm Country Club here in just a minute. All right, so we are coming right off of 17 South, and we're heading into Snee Farm Country Club. And Snee Farm is the original country club to Mount Pleasant. So you have an 18-hole golf course back here. It was built by George Cobb. He's a golf course designer that has built a few golf courses in this area. This neighborhood dates back to 1970s, maybe. A lot of it was built in the 80s. And this is the original country club for Mount Pleasant. So at one time, this was the place to be. This has been bought in the last couple of years from a client of mine that bought this. He lives in New Jersey. He bought this and he bought Rivertown Country Club. And he's redone the clubhouse out here. They've still got a little bit more work to do on it, but you can see he more or less worked with what was built in the 70s, which is, you know, the design of this certainly resembles a clubhouse built in the 70s. They've got a really good swimming setup out here. They've got clay court tennis, I think 18 clay court tennis courts, and a really good tennis facility. If you're big into tennis, this is a place that some of the top tennis players in Mount Pleasant play at this particular country club. Then you can see the golf course. The golf course, again, this time of year, not the prettiest time of year to look at the golf course, but it's a good golf course. I mean, they've spent some money and put money back into it. You know, the memberships here are not bad. You're probably looking at about a $2,000 buy-in, and then you're at a couple $100 a month. So the country club membership is very reasonable. If you're looking to join a club, Snee Farm has a lot of those amenities, I think at a pretty good cost. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of spin through here and let you guys see, you know, some of how Snee Farm sets up. There's varying price points back here. There are some townhomes back here. Most of those townhomes line the golf course. And then you have single family homes. Most of these single family homes are at least a half an acre lot. And what people like about this is, I've driven them through here over the years, is they like the space between the houses, the proximity of this neighborhood to the beach. The beach is more or less across the street. The Isle of Palms connector is right outside the main entrance off of 17. So you're 5 minutes to Isle of Palms. There's about 4 different ways out of this neighborhood, so you can get to different parts of Mount Pleasant, taking different roads to get out of Snee Farm to, you know, get to one side of Mount Pleasant or the other. And the architectural style honestly varies back here. I mean, there's everything from modern looking houses to houses that are plantation style to houses that look like they were built in the 70s. The only thing that I think I hear negative about Snee Farm is a lot of people from the Northeast tell me that it looks like a lot of neighborhoods in the Northeast. And it seems like, at least it's been my experience, that people, when they move down here to the Charleston area, they want to live in a neighborhood that has houses that kind of look coastal or look like they, you know, were built in the South. And a lot of these houses, with the exception of that one, look like houses that you probably could get in other parts of the United States. But again, Snee Farm, one of my favorite spots simply because of its location. You know, there's a lot of tidal water back here, so you've got little places you could kayak, a lot of places to fish. Most of these are kind of center hall colonials, I guess. Again, a lot of brick architecture. This house over here to the left was on the market not too long ago, and I went through it, and it's patterned after a house in Williamsburg, Virginia. So that kind of has got a little plantation look to it. Price points back here anywhere from the probably $375 on the low end on up to about $750. There's not a whole lot of houses back here for sale at any given time. You know, Snee Farm, I think because of its location, is in high demand. So if you're looking in Snee Farm, don't expect to see a ton of houses for sale. If you're looking on MLS or looking, you know, on a real estate website, you probably won't see as many as you would think with a subdivision this size. All right, so we cut through off of Cacique Province, which is just a road that runs through Snee Farm. We're riding through a subsection called New Charlestown, which is made to look like Charleston-looking houses. This little area, people really like this. They have kind of cool little courtyards, and some of the houses do resemble what you would see in the older parts of downtown Charleston with maybe a little bit newer spin to them. These houses are a little bit smaller. These are only 1,500 square feet to probably 2,500 square feet. And again, this is the New Charlestown section of Snee Farm Country Club. And these houses range anywhere from probably 325 on up to maybe the low fours. A lot of these have been gutted and redone recently. So even though they may look a little older from the outside, a lot of them have been completely redone on the inside. HOA fees for back in Snee Farm and, including the New Charlestown section we're in right now are about $450 a year. And that more or less covers Snee Farm. Again, if you want to take a tour of this area, if you want us to send you a list of houses that are for sale or kind of, talk to us about anything related to Mount Pleasant or the Charleston area for that matter, call us at the Brennaman Group, 843-345-6074. You can always visit us at charlestonproperty.net. Thanks again, y'all.